Welcome back to 20-somethings TV. I am joined with my lovely group today, Anthony, Stevie, Matt, Ellie, and Jamian. We've got some pretty interesting things to talk about this week. First up, some kind of local things in the New England area. A little over a decade ago, I believe, the tragic Sandy Hook shooting took the lives of 26 victims, 20 of which were children. However, in more recent news, a controversial, more right-wing kind of figure named Alex Jones went ahead and made some claims. This is back in 2010, kind of just saying that the shooting was a hoax, in his words, which obviously made a lot of people very upset for good reason. And a couple of families, two, I believe, in specific, actually took that to court because he is technically slandering and I guess invalidating the events that happened. So those court cases are currently going on based off of him just saying those kind of things. What do y'all think about that? If you were coming from their point of view, or just hearing that someone would even say that such a tragic event was a hoax?
Well, I'm from Connecticut and I lived 20 minutes from Newtown, and so I remember exactly where I was. I was sitting on the bus in the front seat. My bus driver turned the radio on, and we're all just sitting there going home listening to this tragic event. And I actually ended up meeting people that are now some of my closest friends that were in the school building at the time, and hearing about Alex Jones and him just basically neglecting to believe this was a true thing was just so messed up to even read or hear if you watch this podcast. I mean, and Alex Jones is if any of you guys watch Joe Rogan, he's been on his podcast numerous times and just goes off on random conspiracy theories that really don't make sense. And it's just annoying to listen to him.
He's actually been sued by these families 9 times. I looked it up from different cases, mostly from defamation. And I'd say it's justifiably, just for the amount of slander you're already putting through these families that already went through that tragic event.
I learned recently as well that it's not only him. I guess some of his supporters and fans have been harassing the families. So it's not enough for just him to go and say all these terrible things, but his supporters and his backers are saying the same things to families, which I feel is making you kind of relive all of that terrible stuff all over again.
I feel it's bad enough that he tried to say that it was a hoax, but I also saw videos of him mocking family members and talking about how they were fake crying and fake concern for their children's death. And I thought it was pretty disgusting that anyone could even do that.
Yeah, I think he called them crisis actors or something like that. He basically turned them into political pawns, basically, which is just horrible because it's a tragic event and you're turning it into something that's a complete lie and just something even worse, basically.
That being said, I feel it raises a really interesting question. Obviously, as different kinds of social media have been around, there have been people called trolls. There's a lot on Reddit, a lot on Twitter, etc. I would say that he's a troll with a platform of the worst kind. So I feel it's almost I think a lot of people sometimes see trolls as a joke, but it's obviously very serious. So how do y'all kind of view that? Because I think for at the beginning, people didn't take trolls super seriously, but obviously this is he's been sued for the harm that he's been doing to these families, and trolls that follow him the same.
I think it really shows that some people this is where they get their information from, which is kind of sad. But he is obviously somebody with a platform, so these people still listen to him even if his the information that he's giving out isn't accurate.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to see where this goes because it's still an ongoing case, and the judge may have said some things, but it's not over yet. But we have to see where we go from here. Does he have a platform at the end of this, or do we keep allowing him to say these things, or do we reprimand him?
I think he's actually been deplatformed from YouTube already. So right now it's he's on his own site, I guess, which, I mean, it's better than having a platform like YouTube, but still, he still has an audience.
Sadly enough, he gets banned from like social media all the time, but then he has friends that like Joe Rogan, like I said earlier, and just he gets to speak his opinion again, and that just builds his platform right back up. Joe Rogan averages like something like 12 million views per video, like, and people actually watch and like listen to Alex Jones, which is mind-boggling to me that they actually listen when we think this guy has a point in what he's speaking of. And it's just like it's scary. I don't think he loses any platform, which I feel awful for the families because they just follow him like he's God or something.
Yeah.
Nah.
I think it just kind of shows the power that the internet has in different kinds of like platforms and stuff. Speaking of that, another way that the internet's kind of worked in some good is after the 2010 adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender. A lot of people reacted on the internet because they whitewashed almost the entire cast. If some of you don't know, the original cartoon from Nickelodeon, most of the series has actors, like animated like characters are supposed to be of Asian and Indigenous descent. And in the first 2010 series with the old cast, I think almost every single one of the main roles was played by a white person, besides like Zuko and a few other people. Yep, so this is the old cast. And a lot of people were very upset about it. So I don't know if we have any other fellow Avatar fans, but seeing the new casting, what are some of y'all's thoughts? I know that this is a generation that kind of grew up on some stuff like that. So what were y'all thinking and feeling when you saw that it was getting another adaptation? I know I was a little bit nervous before the casting came out.
I'm excited. I'm also excited because I read that the original creators are going to be part of the new production, which I think is definitely a move in the right direction. Because again, the last movie was so bad, like they didn't even pronounce the main character's name right. So hopefully it'll be better than that.
I actually read an article that the original creators left back in like last August. I don't know if anyone else saw that.
They lost a little bit of creative control, and they said they didn't want to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably because they don't want another 2010 mishap. I mean, that movie was atrocious.
I actually didn't know they were coming out with a new movie until recently, but I actually like in the summer just rewatched the cartoon series, and I didn't know there was a movie already out, and I loved the series, and then I watched the movie, and it actually just made me almost hate the series because I don't know how you can make a movie and switch it up from those characters just like that. It just like made me mad to the fact where I don't even think they should make a new movie. Just keep the cartoon the way it is and not try to like change anything else.
Well, thankfully this is a show, so hopefully they'll have a little more of a story that's true to the old TV show, but we'll have to see. I mean, cast is moving in the right direction. We'll have to see if everything else follows.
I think a problem I had with the other one too is some of the ages seemed a little bit off. Like Sokka in the first one, aside from like being horrendously whitewashed, I feel like he just seemed really old. And I feel like a lot of the actors, like they've interacted on like Instagram Live, and they kind of like fit their character descriptions in a way. The actor that's playing Zuko is also in like the newest Marvel movie, Shang-Chi. And so I feel like it's kind of cool that there's like this whole generation of like new younger actors that are going to be like discovered through this. So hopefully like the same way we enjoyed Avatar, maybe this will be like the redeeming factor.
I thought I'm like going back to the old movie too, like it was just like so poorly done that like they didn't even like portray their characters right. Like Sokka like wasn't even funny. Like well, they tried to make him funny, but he just wasn't. And they just I don't know. They didn't. I'm just like reiterating here, but they just are portraying not the correct things that should be correct.
This might be just my opinion, but I feel like not every show or movie that like we had growing up needs to be remade. Like sometimes I think it's just like, oh, this is a quick way to get money.
I think that Disney does that a lot. Like this is a Nickelodeon show, but like in recent years, I feel like besides like there have been some like new ones on Disney Plus and stuff, but there haven't been very many like new original Disney like concepts. Like Soul was really amazing, and Coco was great, and Luca was great, but I feel like they've just made like a lot of like live action Lion King, like live action Aladdin, live action Beauty and the Beast. Like those were all great, but we need some new concepts, because I feel like we got a lot of that growing up. It's almost like they're losing that now.
I haven't seen the new Lion King, but isn't it like shot for shot like the original, but just CGI?
Basically, I feel like if you've seen the old Lion King, then there's really no reason to see the new one unless you, I guess, wanted to hear Beyonce or something. But
kind of like piggybacking off what everyone just said, like you don't need to make it live action. Just leave it cartoon or anime. Like just keep it how it was, plain and simple, and it probably will do better than maybe the show. I mean, I love anime and like cartoon shows, so I personally would prefer it that way. So you don't have this like whitewashing aspect of anything, or like they could actually like portray their characters the right way.
I read something. I don't know if you guys saw it, but the original creators are getting a deal where they're making like more animated spin-offs in the Avatar universe that are like separate from this thing. So that's probably going to be like a more like sequel series to Avatar than whatever the Netflix show is probably going to be.
Yeah, I feel like they had a lot of success with Korra, and people kind of saw that. So now there's like I think it's called like Avatar Studios or something along those lines, where it's going to be like more expanding into that universe, which I think will be really exciting to see. But yeah, I'm excited for the future. Hoping that the future is moving in a little bit of a different direction at UMass Amherst. On a different note, at the college there is a fraternity called Theta Chi. Recently, there have been some sexual assault allegations, unfortunately, and the school, instead of giving any kind of disciplinary action to this fraternity, is offering victims of the frat resources, but showing no disciplinary action, from my understanding, to the members of this frat. What are our thoughts on that? Because I have quite a few.
I'm in a fraternity, and seeing Greek life pretty much just get a label from this boneheaded fraternity is just awful. Like, I don't disagree. I mean, I disagree that giving Theta Chi resources to like help them, I think it's the stupidest thing ever. I think they screwed up and they deserve every single thing that they're getting. I mean, sexual assault is something that just should not be taken lightly. And if the school's not going to do something about it, I'm not necessarily mad that other kids, or not even people that go to the school, are stepping up outside their fraternity house, not letting them sleep. I don't necessarily like think you should be throwing stuff at people but I mean, hey, it's sexual assault on some poor girl. It's awful.
I just feel like we should be more worried about like not Greek life's kind of like perception in the media, but more like how we can protect women. Like, I don't know, like I feel like, yes, there's like a stigma surrounding some fraternities, but I feel like that's not the biggest issue. Like, there's like a car flipped during some of the protests because like people are so upset that like this fraternity is not getting any kind of I guess attention from the school. They're actually asking the school to like protect them amidst these allegations. What do we think about that?
Fine by me. Do whatever you need to do. I mean, if peaceful protest isn't going to work and you're not going to pay attention and the school's not going to do anything about it, do whatever you need to do to grab the attention, whether it's through the media or directly through the school. Somebody's going to have to act up at some point. So,
yeah, there was already a petition of like 20,000 signatures, and if that didn't get through to them, this is like the next step for that.
It's not even like, it's not off topic, but this is like one of the like first cases of like sexual assault that's been like in college, like that's been like really like nationwide. But it's just like, it's scary to think about how there's been so many other cases of it that just haven't been exploited like this one. And that's just like, going off what Lee said, like protecting our women should like, it should be more known. It shouldn't be kept in the dark. It should be known like this instance.
I feel like a lot of fraternities have the stigma that the people, like the men in them, do that like stuff, and I feel like it's well known and not a lot of people pay attention or even well look into it. Like the other day I was talking to my friend, and like personally I don't know the campus very well, even though I've been here 2 years, and he was talking about how he walked across like the male fraternity and he like kind of felt creepy, and like we just kind of got into that conversation. It's like URI isn't the only place that has like a stigma, like a lot of colleges do. So like what can we do about it to help and protect women? Obviously not every fraternity, well, maybe, I don't know, but like not every fraternity is bad. But what can we do to help women or just people in general who are affected by sexual assault?
And I almost feel like one of the headlines that I read was like Theta Chi fraternity asks UMass Amherst to like protect them against sexual assault allegations. I was like, that should not be the headline. It should be like students ask for protection like from sexual assault on UMass campus from Theta Chi. Like I just feel like that headline is so like privileged. This fraternity is asking for help because people are mad that there's a sexual assault allegation based around that fraternity. It just boggled my mind a little bit.
I think maybe we place it back on the frats because, I mean, obviously Matt is bothered by this. I imagine other brothers in his fraternity would feel the same. Maybe we place it on them and say, next year, how do we go about rush week? How do we prove that not everybody's like this? And I don't know, just a little more accountability on that side of things. Maybe it'll clear things up. Maybe not.
Like creating a safe like frat culture instead of kind
Absolutely.
of some of our as like women's perceptions of like, is this a good frat or a bad frat? Like how does that happen from inside a frat? And maybe Matt has like some better insight than we do. But
yeah, I mean, one thing that we do is like we have like, not necessarily a background check, but we really interview our kids that are potentially joining our fraternity and see if like they're going to be good kids and whether or not, like, for lack of a better term, they give off creepy vibes. And usually in our fraternity, at least like once a month at chapter, we always have like a sexual assault, like we like somebody comes in and talks about it. Sorry, I just couldn't find the word right there. And I just feel like if more fraternities would like actually like step up and like listen to like some of the cases and like actually like become more aware of it. Like same, like even my fraternity, I think we still need to do more. But at the same time, going to Theta Chi, that like I just think that there's a couple bad kids that just ruined, and they didn't really look at those kids.
But I feel like even if it's just a couple of bad kids, if the entire frat is enabling them, that kind of makes the whole frat kind of bad.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't. Oh, sorry. I didn't read enough about it to understand what like the frat as a whole did to like prevent this situation or enable it. So I can't really speak on their behalf. Sorry, you go ahead now, Lee.
Well, I think the worst part is the school's enabling it too. I mean, they're investigating the kids that flipped the car rather than investigating the frat. That's just a huge problem. I mean, UMass is having problems on top of that. There was a whole racist email scandal that's been going on, and that's been circulating Instagram, and it's just they got to get things under control over there.
The fraternity's headquarters actually like asked the school to like expel anybody who was a part of the protest in general, and it's like you really want to hold protesters more accountable than you're holding possible sexual assaulters, which is really weird to me.
Reminds me a lot of like, obviously these are two vastly different issues, but when people the summer after George Floyd's murder, people were like mad at like there being a lot of looting and like riots, and then they were like using that to like, I guess, take away from the actual reason people were so upset. And I was like, you can't really like, I guess, quantify someone else's like anger and pain from a situation by saying like, don't destroy property. I don't know. That's my opinion on it. But obviously, I think us as a generation, we use our voices a lot. So I'm glad that at least some people are standing behind these women, or just victims of any gender on UMass Amherst campus that have been affected by this frat. I think we have a lot of power as a generation, so that's kind of exciting, because I think as I was watching interviews, a lot of them like were young people on the campus and people that weren't even involved in like Greek life. So yeah, I think in this there is some kind of light and like, I guess, the power we have as students and the power we have as like a generation. If there are no other comments, I think that concludes us for the evening. Thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you next week for some more 20 somethings.